Hello, everyone. Happy New Year's. This is Patrick and Sarah here with the Fringe Podcast. Hope your new year is off to a great start. We are feeling rested today. I think we were in bed by like 10 o'clock last night because no one over the age of 25 stays up past midnight, right? So, yeah, how did you wake up feeling this morning?
I felt glorious. I haven't been sleeping that good in a while, so yeah, I slept good, man. I had some strange dreams. That's how you know you slept good, when you got some real weird dreams and you wake up like disoriented, like,
yeah, you got
where
to that
am I?
deep REM level of sleep.
So, but yeah, I feel good. I feel rested.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm quite rested yet. I woke up feeling kind of unmotivated, which is not how you want to wake up feeling on January 1st. You want to like seize the day. It's a new year. You've got new goals, the new you, all of that garbage. It's just a new day, right? But yeah, I think I'm still recovering from the holidays. I kind of wanted to just stay home on the couch with the dogs, watch a movie. It's kind of gray and dreary here in Ohio too. We've had a lot of rain lately.
Yes.
In the month of December, and so.
Speaking of those dogs, we're gonna upload a picture of her and what the situation looks like. You got to see it. So
I'm buried alive in dogs. Yeah. So yeah, we hope that you have some dreams and goals and vision for your life this year. It says in the Bible, I forget where exactly that is in the Bible, if it's Proverbs but that without vision, people perish. Is that Proverbs?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, without a vision, without direction of where you're heading in life, you're never going to get there if you don't have a vision for it. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking, this is our second take because I forgot to hit record, but we were talking on the first go around of this thing.
Yeah, that first take was really good too, by the way.
That's all right, though. It's going to be even better. Sometimes you mess up for a reason, and then you just kick it back, and it's better.
We are always unscripted, by the way. I think that's important too.
Yeah.
Like we don't even have like notes in front of us. We just briefly discuss the topic and just go with it, hoping it comes out very authentically and raw.
For sure. No, I was thinking about how, like, you wake up, it's the new year, it's January 1st, 2025. We got a new president coming into office. There's a lot of stuff going on in society. Everybody's got all these goals, right? Maybe you saw the ball drop last night. If we had somewhere popping to go, we might have went. But you wake up and you're supposed to feel different, but you don't, but you get on social media, on your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, and all of a sudden you're inundated with all these, new year, new me, all these motivational, these are my goals, these are my dreams. And hey, a shout out to you, man. But the reality is like 1% of us, including myself, homie, we don't fall through with that stuff. That's like the number one time for gym memberships. New year, everybody's gonna get that body. You know what I mean? And hey, if you're doing it, get it. I'm cheering you on. But most of us, we don't do that. And I was talking about in the first recording of this that real gangsters move in silence. And like this year, there's goals and things I have and things that I want to do, but I don't want to talk about them. I don't want to broadcast them. I just want to do them. And I was reading in the scriptures in the book of Isaiah about this king, and he was coming to the end of his life, and he asked God for 15 more years. It was Hezekiah, and he asked God for 15 more years. God gave him 15 more years, and then this other foreign king celebrated. See, it is better the second time around because I remember the story a little better. And this other foreign king wants to celebrate him, so they show up, with all these gifts. And Hezekiah, he takes him into the storehouse, and he shows him all the stuff he's doing and all the stuff he has. And the prophet goes on to say, like, there's going to be this good time, but like after you're gone, like these same people are going to come in and they're going to empty out your barns. They're going to take your people captive. And like, it was powerful, man. It just spoke to me, and it spoke to me. You got to be careful who you share your stuff with, your dreams with, your vision with. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't share it with anybody, but there's people, we've all heard, maybe you haven't, but there's a story in the scripture about a guy named Joseph, right? And he shared his vision and his dream with the wrong people. You got to watch who you share. So, hey, if you got goals, you got vision, you got a vision board for 2025, homie, don't show anybody. Move in silence.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily that someone, that you would share that with would sabotage, whatever your dream or your vision or goal is. But two, we were talking about just the power that words carry and like sharing that vision with the wrong person. Like there may be someone who would just speak a lot of discouragement to you or just kind of speak death over that idea that can just really weigh heavily on the spirit. And so, yeah, you definitely have to be wise about who you share things with.
Yeah. Because some people are only comfortable with the version of you that they can benefit from. And when you start growing and you start turning into a different person that doesn't benefit them, right? Or you're outgrowing the environment that they want to stay stuck in. And you were stuck in too. There's no judgment. But when sometimes when you start outgrowing that stuff, there's this weird kind of tension. So by all means, have some people in your corner, you know what I'm saying, that you can share your goals, share your dream with, share your visions with. But just be careful who you share that with, man, because there's people that are plotting on your downfall. They don't want to see you succeed. And sometimes the people that don't want to see you succeed are not the people you think.
Yeah, the people closest to you.
Yeah. No subs there. All our homies listening, we don't do subliminal jabs. Hey, if we got an issue, we're gonna air it out.
Yeah. Well, I think that you're wanting to like change and transform and grow, like agitates that subconscious part of people that maybe are in a season of being stuck. And I don't think people, if you were to ask them directly, like, do you want to remain stuck?
Sure.
Like, no, of course not. They're just not willing to embrace the discomfort that it takes to get unstuck.
Yeah.
And so it makes them uncomfortable to see you facing that because it agitates that part of them that knows that they should be doing something about their own life too. And
for sure.
Misery loves company. So we are going to, before we dive into the topic of just doing kind of a recap of 2024 and stepping into the newness of 2025, we are going to ask these questions from a game called How Deep Will You Go? It has 3 levels. So level 1 is like icebreaker questions. Level 2 is confessions. And level 3 is getting deep. And so we have a random stack of the getting deep questions here.
Nice.
As I flip this over, I have absolutely no idea what the question is going to be. And so we're each going to answer.
Does this give you anxiety?
No. Maybe a little. All right. Let's see. Oh, gosh, this is like all the way deep. This is like a podcast of its own.
Let's go. I love it.
Describe your worst heartbreak and what did it teach you?
Dang. That is a whole episode, isn't it? You want to go first or you want me to go first?
Oh, I'll let you go first. I'm going to marinate on which heartbreak I'm going to tell.
Yeah, is this, yeah. Is there a specific one?
Well, I think it says your worst heartbreak, but I think most people that listen to our podcast kind of know like what the climactic worst moment of both of our lives has been. And so I think maybe talking about something outside of that, like what was your worst heartbreak out of that super like traumatic thing that everyone already kind of knows about?
Ooh, there's so many to choose from.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go first. So many of you who follow us on social media know that a few years back we unexpectedly lost one of our dogs in a very traumatic and heartbreaking way. Like he's a French bulldog named Cash, and he wasn't even 2 years old. And while we were eating lunch on one unassuming Sunday, it was a beautiful day outside. I had just come home from work and was kind of venting and ranting to Patrick about someone in my life who honestly just wasn't even worth the time and energy of ranting and venting about. And while all of that was happening, my dog was losing his life in the backyard. And I had gone out to check on him, and I'm the one who found him and tried to resuscitate him, and unfortunately was unable to. And I think that's definitely one of the worst heartbreaks of my life. I mean, it's been 3 years, and like I can still hardly talk about it without tearing up and without getting emotional, and just the, why God? Like why did that have to happen? Why couldn't I have gotten up to check on him 2 minutes earlier? Like why did we have to lose him in this way on top of all of the life pain that we've both already experienced?
Sure.
And there's just been a lot of anxiety on the other side of that, that compounded some of the trauma that I had already been through. Anxiety pertaining to like, you just never know when like unforeseen things are going to enter your life that you are blindsided by, that you totally didn't see coming. And
well, if you remember the day too, it was like a beautiful day outside. Mm-hmm. It was in the summer. It was nice. It was one of those days that you would actually want to be outside in Ohio.
Yeah.
And, it felt normal, you know, everything felt secure, right? We were in a house that we loved at the time. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's definitely one of my heartbreaks that I've had to work through, make peace with, make peace with the idea that there are some questions I'm never going to have answered on this side of eternity. And yeah.
Definitely tragic. And our daughter was there. So like seeing her see that, and know what was going on. I think that was equally as heavy.
Yeah, I mean, she's had her own anxiety on the other side of that.
Everyone that's had a dog, at one point your dog dies. The way this dog died, it wasn't a natural situation. He had a leash that he got tangled up in, and yeah, man, like seeing her process that, which I think would lead me to mine. It's a recent one, and this year I lost my mom, and she had struggled with some health issues for a while. But she had always pulled through, and she got a little better, and her mobility was a little limited, but she always kind of bounced back. And when you get older, sometimes you slow down and you have some health issues that you struggle with. And she had been in the hospital for the same situation before, and she goes in this last time, and like she didn't come out. And I have not processed that. I haven't. And I think part of it is because I'm in a position and a role where you kind of have to keep going to some extent. As a father, a husband, there's a pressure there.
A pastor, you're everyone's go-to for situations like that. Yeah.
Pastoring the church, the stuff we do with the nonprofit. I've always tried to live my life authentically, and like I'm not gonna just quote unquote be strong for you, and I'm not gonna front if I'm not feeling good. And I have those moments where I'll break down and stuff like that, but I don't feel like I've truly processed that at all, really at all. And as you get older, you at some point your parents are gonna die. But I have not had a strong relationship with all of my parents. She was the one that there was that really strong bond. And, my biological father has been basically a ghost for 3 decades. And, my stepdad, I love him to death. We got a good relationship, but he's got a lot of his own battles and struggles, which hinders our ability to really connect. So I feel like to some extent, she was my only parent. And like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Like it's bizarre because our family has already gone through so much hell and chaos and turmoil. And what that does when you go through suffering together, it makes you even closer. And so there was a bond that we had because of the stuff that we had survived. But I can't describe it. But when you lose your parent, there's a level of loneliness that you now feel in the world that I can't even describe. I could be around everybody, and my mother-in-law, she's like a mom to me. She is a mom. She is my mom, and I love her to death, and we have a great relationship. But there's something about that biological thing being broken, that I feel so terribly alone. And
it's like that one person who has known you from birth, because most of the people that you know in life, they entered your life at some point in the story, but they weren't there from that very first moment. And your parents are the people that are there from that very first moment of birth. And they're the only ones, really.
Yeah. I'd say that's my most recent one still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen my mom go through that with the loss of her parents and just how, you know, like that's the trajectory of life. Like we know at some point if life plays out the way that it, you know, is intended to, that like eventually we're going to lose our parents. But you're never ready for that, no matter how much time you have. And there will always be a hole. Like it has been, my grandma passed in 2012, my grandpa in 2014. And still, you know, it's still like a hole for her and her sisters when there's holidays or their birthdays or just wishing you could pick up the call, phone and make a call.
That no one tells you. You never outgrow it. Like you don't outgrow it. There's not, you know, they've been gone for them for ages.
Yeah.
And there's never a time that you don't want to like pick up your phone and share that moment with your mom, with your dad, because again, like you said, they've been with you your whole life. Mm-hmm. And when you already have fractures in the other parental relationships, and that one who's the anchor is now gone,
yeah, it
feels like our family as a whole is just rudderless, drifting in the ocean. You know, and it's a strange thing I'm trying to navigate. Which brings me to something I want to share with you guys, and we can go wherever you want after this. You know, I wanted to tell everyone Happy New Year, you know, let people know on social media, happy 2025, I'm still here, I'm glad you made it home safely, you know, whatever it is that we post. But I was really thinking about this, and I wanted to share something that I feel like more accurately reflects the human experience, right? And I think this is true for anybody. You could be on the mountaintop right now. You just launched your business. You know, you're making 7 figures, or you just got out of rehab. I think this is true for anybody. And I just want to share it with you. And this is what I wrote. A year can hold a lot. New beginnings or saying goodbye for the last time. 2024 was filled with a lot of beauty, family, community, joy, growth, and blessing. It was also filled with chaos, darkness, loneliness, isolation, sorrow, and often what felt like curses. This is the human experience: joy and pain, beauty and brokenness, connection and isolation, blessing and letdowns. We welcomed a new life into our family this year, and this is also a photo of the last time I got to hug my mom before she died. The weight of that loss is still utterly suffocating. I may not show it, but it's always there, the weight of it beneath the surface. But as someone who is well acquainted with success and suffering, trauma and healing, gains and loss, one gift I can give you is this: Jesus will walk through it all with you. He will celebrate with you, cry with you. He will sit with you in silence when you're broken and dance with you when you're filled with joy. I have been through a lot in my life, but one thing remains unshakable: the presence of Jesus through it all. He really is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Do I have some plans and some dreams or hopes for 2025? Sure. But I hold them loosely and him tightly. So no matter where life takes me this year, I will achieve my biggest goal, making it to the finish line while still holding on to him. And it says in James chapter 4, verse 13, "Look here, you who say today or tomorrow we will go to a certain town and will stay there a year. We will do business there and make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like a morning fog. It is here for a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live this or do that." And like, to me, that sums up like my last year. Is like, it's not bad. It's not all bad and it's not all good. It's both.
Yeah.
And
the human experience.
And I think for me, the most powerful thing I've learned in going through all that stuff, and as you go through these experiences and loss and like you live some life, is, man, you really, if you really genuinely have a connection with God, like you experience, and you can only experience through that, how good he really is, and how he's always there.
Yeah. There's this trend going around on TikTok. We were just talking about this a couple of days ago, but that, like, when I first saw it, like, it can be a little bit anxiety producing, but it's essentially like a picture or a short video clip of somebody, and it will say something like, he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to take his son to a basketball game tonight, and when he comes home, he's going to have a massive heart attack and die. And it's heartbreakingly sad, you know, which I think if you've been through significant trauma, especially like trauma that you didn't see coming, which most of the time is how trauma works, that can be super triggering, right? Because like you already live with that kind of angst of like, well, when's the shoe going to drop? But I think too, like, it's like that verse you just talked about in the book of James, like your life is but a vapor. Like you're here today and gone tomorrow. And that is the blessing and the curse, that like we don't know what the next moments of our life are going to hold. And so just learning to live in this present moment, make plans, hold them loosely, trust God.
Yeah.
You know, but the only moment you have to worry about living in and living through is the one you have right now, because it's the only one you really have.
Yeah. I think too, like for me, and this is hard to do. And really, what I'm going to say, like a little preface, you can't do what I'm going to say without God. But I think it's really hard when you've had a lot of unexpected bad things happen to not develop the worldview that you're just always waiting for the next shoe to drop. Mm-hmm. And what I feel like God has like been pouring into my life lately, like, yeah, you don't know when you may take your last breath, homie. You may not know when, you know, this person's going to pass or this situation is going to happen, or you're going to go through this trial or this struggle. You know what else you don't know? You don't know what goodness is waiting around the corner for you either. Yeah. So don't develop the worldview that you're just always waiting for the bad shoe to drop. There's some good shoes to drop, right?
Yeah.
And like we got to remind ourselves that like there's also something incredible that we may experience this year that's going to blow our minds. And that, to me, that's the human experience, and that's what genuine faith looks like. Both are true, man. But in light of that, I'm not going to become a pessimist or a fatalist, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like if you're a person who like majors in like statistics or something, then you would know from like a logical or like a scientific level that you're actually going to have a lot more like good, normal, boring days, ordinary days, than you are those tragic, hard days of loss and sorrow. But of course, the challenge is that impact when it does happen is it's so hard to navigate, you know, and your brain like subconsciously tries to brace and protect you from what you might not be prepared for that might come next, you know, but logically, statistically, that's really unlikely to happen. So it's definitely a balance. It's definitely healing that only God can give. But those were really intense. That was a really intense question. So next time we're going to start with the icebreaker level. Yeah. Maybe we'll end with that today if we have time. But
let me say something about that though, because I think it's important. I've learned to thank God for boredom. Boredom is a luxury of the first world.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So hey, if you're listening, if you're watching this, homie, like boredom, a normal day, a day of monotony, like it's really a gift, man. It's a gift. And there's somebody out there that is praying and wishing today would have just been normal or boring. And so, you know, most of you know, both of us have been locked up, you know what I mean? And it's easy around the holidays to get burnt out, to get frustrated. You got a million kids running around tweaking, screaming on sugar, you know what I mean? Climbing the walls like monkeys in the cacophony of it all. They were doing that stuff last night. And I'll be real, man. I was getting agitated, you know what I mean? I want to get one, the bark devices they have for dogs. They need to make that for kids, you know? Like when they start tweaking, it just makes them stop. But I was getting agitated, and there are two kids that I love dearly. Their family, one is my child, and they were just going, man. They were going at it. They were going crazy, you know. And something just like, and I think it was God. Something just said like one day there's gonna be a day where you don't hear them playing as kids in this room. because they're not going to be kids anymore.
Yeah.
And so just shut up, shut your mouth, shut your attitude, and just let them be kids.
Yeah.
Because this noise is a gift. There's somebody sitting in a cell block somewhere that wishes they could hear their kids freak out. You know what I mean?
I think what you just said, like we could title the episode that, and like if you leave here hearing nothing else, then you've heard what you needed to when you said that boredom is a luxury of the first world that we often so take for granted, and that there's someone out there who woke up this morning and would love to have had just a boring day or a normal mundane day. And there's people out there like fighting for safety and food and clean water and not knowing where their children are because they've been forced to separate and living in war zones. And yeah, boredom is a luxury of the first world. That's so good.
Yeah. It's not my quote. I jacked it from somebody, but yeah, it's still true.
Yeah. So why don't we kind of already did a recap of
I know where we can go.
2024.
Let's do this and tell me what you think. Why don't we do, we talked about we're always waiting for the bad shoe to drop. Let's talk about some unexpected good experiences we had this year. Can we do that?
Sure.
What are some surprises? What are some good
Last
shoes?
year, not this year.
Yeah,
last year.
You know what I'm saying. Yesterday, my bad. Only yesterday. 2024, what are some good shoes that dropped, some unexpected shoes that dropped, and what were they? Give me a couple.
Yeah, that's why I love, like it can be annoying, like seeing everyone's like highlights and their little cap cut videos of like, things from 2024. But it really is cathartic and healing if you do that practice yourself, because in going through like your old photos and videos, yes, you relive a lot of the hard stuff, but you also realize that there was a lot of good and really beautiful mixed in with it. So I think one of the ones that comes to my mind is it's kind of one of the hard and one of the good things intertwined, which is that's life, right? But it's the situation with our youngest son. So if you don't know, like our youngest son really just started to struggle with some severe substance abuse issues right around spring of last year. And life got really, really chaotic there for a while. Like we didn't know where he was some nights. We didn't know if we were going to get a knock on the door from the police or, God forbid, the coroner, or we just didn't know what was going to happen. And he was in and out of rehab many, many times. And one of the things of beauty, for one, he's kind of on the other side of that now. Still growing, still healing, still has a lot of work to do, but all that chaos has kind of died down. He's been sober for a couple of months now and has just really stabilized in all those areas, which I didn't know how long it was going to be. Yeah. I don't know about you. Like, of course we prayed and we trusted his life with God, because there's literally nothing else you can do. But I certainly didn't expect it to turn around kind of as quickly as it did. But one of the beautiful things is that the place that he was in recovery at was about 2 hours from our home. And it's like a beautiful drive out through this really rural area. And we discovered this beautiful little town, like on the way there, that we've actually like intentionally visited outside of going to visit him since then. Random. And it's like this beautiful little small town.
Don't tell people where it's at. That's our spot, homie.
The little hidden gem. It's in Salina, Ohio. What's the name? Oh, Grand Lake is what it's on. Yep. Beautiful view of Grand Lake. They have these adorable little beach houses that you can rent right there that kind of feels like you're in Rainbow Row in Charleston, South Carolina. They've got this thrift store up there that I, of course, love to visit. Just a cute little coffee shop, cute little restaurants. And so that kind of felt like a gift to me in all of the chaos, that we found this like peaceful little getaway spot that I would go back anytime. Like sure. I love to visit there. But also that he's on the other side of that now.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot for me, man. I feel like for me personally, just in my own personal life, one of the good shoes that have dropped. I feel like spiritually I'm growing, in a way I've never grown before. And there's like a hunger, and there's a connection there that, it's just absolutely life-changing. It's been for me. I would say the second thing would be our new little godson, Maverick. This little dude, man, he's amazing. Again, there's some complexity to his story and his background, but we now got this little guy that's a part of our life. He's funny, man. He's hilarious. But I didn't have that in my predictions that we would have a godson, and this kid would be staying the night at our house. This little baby, you know what I mean? And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience. And so in the same year of loss, and I even posted, it wasn't a picture of him, but it was a picture of a newborn baby that I posted on that social media post. In the same year that I lost my mom, I got to experience life.
New life, yeah.
The same year that my brother was murdered, I found Jesus. And so there's always life, and I won't go on a tangent here, but I think it's important. Right now, we're in the season of Hanukkah, right? In the story of Hanukkah, if you don't know it, I encourage you to look it up. But essentially, the temple was destroyed; it was defiled, and they reclaimed the temple after this king had destroyed it. And they had to. One of the customs to rededicate the temple was they had to relight the candlestick, the menorah, and they couldn't find any oil. And so they're digging through the rubble, digging through all what's left of the temple that has been destroyed, and they find enough for one day. And so they light the menorah, and miraculously the fire doesn't burn for one day, but it burns for 8 days. It took 8 days to make olive oil, to burn, to make the oil to be able to light the rest of them. But miraculously it burned for 8 days, even though they only had 1 day. And I think that is life. There is always oil, and there's always light in the rubble. But you got to look for it.
Absolutely.
You got to look for it. And sometimes it'll just show up, right? But I think, if it's me finding the Lord probably the worst year of my life, when I lost my brother, or the year my mom dies, this new life is presented,
That's good.
And so wherever you are in life, whatever you're going through, you might be feeling like your life is rubble. There is oil and light in there somewhere. There is. Yeah.
Side note, whenever a pastor says they're not going to go on a tangent, you can just know that that's not true, because that
was pretty short.
That's what they do. So
that was pretty short.
That was pretty short.
I think that was brief, man.
Yeah. 2 comments, when you talk about how just...
Hold on. Before you say that. So this morning, I'm just going to put you on blast. This morning, and look, I get it, man. I'm probably a lot to be married to. I talk for a living. I get paid to do this. I'm not driving a Bentley. You know what I'm saying? But it's my calling. It's my occupation to talk, to sermonize, and it was kind of a busy day yesterday. We were just kind of busy and just kind of lounging, for the holiday. And we hadn't really talked a whole lot yesterday. Sometimes marriage life is like that. Sometimes it's like that. If it goes on for an extended period of time, that's a problem. It's a problem. But you'll have days, and it's okay, man. We love each other. Our marriage is strong. I'm happy just to be in the room with this woman, And so she gets up, and now, full disclosure, I wasn't talking to her right out of bed. She'd already been up. She was already nursing her decaf coffee, which I don't know what the point of that is. That's probably part of the reason why I'm going to tell you what happened. And I'm like, hey, I want to share this thing with you. It was something we were talking about. And as soon as I start talking, her body language, you ever see somebody, their body language, it turns into a sigh? It was just everything about her was gosh, I wish you would just shut up. And I'm like, bro.
Well, I mean, I grew up mostly as an only child. I am capable of being an extrovert when I need to be, but I am an introvert at heart, and I like unhealthy amounts of silence, especially in the morning. So
it was a short.
I hadn't had time to, sip my coffee and spend my time in devotion and the Word. And I just wanted to go sit and chill, and we were adventuring on to story time first thing in the morning. So,
but aren't you glad you heard the story, what we were talking about?
Yes, it was worth listening to. But
Okay, go ahead. Where are we going?
Back to what you were saying about the spiritual growth, like that is not something that spiritual growth doesn't just fall on you or find you.
Yeah.
Like that is something that you gain by being very intentional with your time. And that's something I have noticed with you over the past couple of months, is that you have been very intentional and very consistent with getting up at a decent time, getting up in enough time to have coffee, to really spend time meditating and digging into the word and in prayer time. And so I think that spiritual growth is a reward of that. That's not something like, you're not going to grow spiritually without putting in the work of seeking the Lord. And the Bible says, like, if you seek me, you will find me, like that's God's promise to us. And so, yeah, that's one thing I've definitely noticed. Yeah, and with the gift of like sweet little Maverick, like something that people don't know about us is Patrick would love to have another baby. I am 44 years old. I have already birthed 4 live humans, and I do not plan on birthing anymore.
Come on, you got a couple more in you.
But we would love to foster and adopt, but because of some of the difficult parts of our past, that's a barrier, unfortunately, of discrimination. And so, yeah, I think God's gift to us in this new life being born is that we've gotten to help out this person,
still help a baby
raise this beautiful little human being, and he needs the help,
Sure.
But he's been this unexpected blessing to us and to our daughter as well. Like she is crazy. She's obsessed with him.
She thinks he's like he's a live doll. He essentially is. I mean, a baby is a living doll. But precious. She's like reading to him, It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, but I was thinking about that too, and talking to her about that, how like that's definitely a gift from God to us this past year. For
sure. So what are some of your goals, dreams, aspirations? What are some things you would like to see happen, 2025, maybe personally, maybe in our marriage? If you hear that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to introduce you to the one, the only, the original Hamilton Train.
Yeah, passes through about twice an hour on a daily basis.
We will be soundproofing this room soon.
One of the things I wanted to touch on that was an unexpected gift, blessing from the past year, is rebuilding relationship with my birth father. And to be honest, if you aren't familiar with my story, I've had a broken relationship with him most of my life. Him and my mom divorced back in 2000. No, I'm sorry, not 2000. When I was 18 months old. I don't know why I said 2000. He struggled with drinking most of his life, and just a lot of details to that story. He's been in recovery for many, many years, but I wasn't sure that relationship could ever be mended. And so I just want to say to whoever's out there that maybe they have a broken parental relationship, or some broken relationship with a family member, or someone that you wish to see that restoration in, like, it is possible. Don't ever give up hope, or being faithful in prayer that could be healed and mended, because it absolutely can. And it's been such a blessing to have him around for holidays, and like just the gift of being able to text my dad.
Yeah.
Like, I was just thinking about that yesterday. Like, there were years ago, like when I wouldn't have even called him, you know what I mean? Not to mention like texting him. And so, yeah, it's just a healing gift, blessing that I didn't see coming. So
it's awesome. So what are some dreams and some goals you got for this next year? What's some things you'd like to see happen maybe in your personal life? Back to what I was asking earlier before Hamilton Train blew us off.
Yeah. I think for me, just more like conscious living. And I don't mean in the sense of like eco-friendly, although that too, but just more conscious living in my everyday life, being a better steward financially, knowing where my money is going, not just, that like the conversation we had the other day about our finances. We were reviewing it and we're just like appalled at the level of eating out, all this micro swiping of like iced coffees, and it's just gross.
It adds up, doesn't it?
A gross and appalling amount. So yeah, just being more conscious about eating at home. It's healthier anyway, much better for your budget. Just being better stewards of that. Also, just being a better steward of my time, though, and my relationships, and being more intentional, doing less of things that are draining, which, you can only do that to a certain point. Like there's parts of our everyday life and relationships that are a sacrifice that we do because that's just life and because we love that person.
That's the right thing, yeah.
But yeah, just doing less of things that are draining that can be eliminated and incorporating more things that bring me joy and purpose, whether it's vlogging or finally finishing the book and not talking about it, not just talking about, oh, this is something I need to do, but like putting words into practice and being diligent, because if I don't, it's never going to happen.
You don't want that epitaph that says, "Herein lies a woman who had an amazing book and never wrote it."
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. I think redefining what success looks like too.
Yeah.
And I've always known this. I don't think I've ever been shallow in thinking that success is only measured by, what your annual income is or how many degrees you have hanging on the wall. Like I've always known better than that, but just no, success looks like living the life that God created you to live. Being really intentional in the relationships in your life, being someone that people miss when you're not around, because you make such a difference in their life, that you affect the energy in a room when you walk into it. And yeah, just really examining, like, what does personal success look like for Sarah?
It's good. It's powerful. It's powerful, man. I'd say for me, I want to continue my weight loss journey. I've lost about 40 pounds, and I've hit a really difficult patch in that journey. Sometimes, man, I want to encourage you if you're listening. Sometimes when you have goals or you have dreams or vision or something you're trying to do in life, something good, it's not always going to be easy to get there. And so recently, I have had all kinds of problems with my knees, like bad stuff where, I'm having a hard time walking, and like I'm an active person, man. So this is a new thing for me. I played sports growing up. Like, I jump around on stage, platforms doing preaching, music. So it's very frustrating. I was hiking, you know what I mean? And now I can't do that. And so, like, it's been very discouraging. And it's funny, I should post a picture of this. I don't know if that's letting you too much into our personal space, but recently Sarah rearranged our room, and our bed, you'd have to see the situation, but our bed enables her a great amount of space to get off the bed, to come and go as she pleases. But on my side of the bed, like, as soon as I stand up, my nose is 1 inch from the wall. Which it's already bad. Like, my knees, I'm having issues. I feel like I'm a geriatric patient. You know what I mean?
It's not done intentionally, by the way.
And so, like, I stand up and my nose is touching the wall, and like, yeah, and I was having a hard time sleeping. I was about to freak out, man. And but like, I want to push through this. I don't want this to hinder me. There's been some stuff going on with insurance where they've denied, a request that a physician made for an MRI for my knee. There's a lot going on. Please pray for your boy. Please, man. I appreciate it. Pray against these health insurance providers, that they would do the right thing. But yeah, sometimes you got to adjust. You got to pivot, man. I think that's life. And so I'm going to start swimming at the YMCA. And I'm still a big boy, I look like a hippo in the water down there, but I got to do something, man. I got to do something. I don't want to lose the momentum that I have, and I could still work out my upper body, So sometimes you just got to push through it, man. You got to push through it. So that's one of my goals, is to continue. I got to lose, for me personally, I want to lose about another 30, and I feel like I'll be in a good space, another 30 pounds. it's a lot easier to put it on than lose it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think what you said too about like pivot and adjust, like that's so critical to anything in life. And two, like there's always obstacles that are outside of your control. So like the knee thing and moving forward with that, like right now we're waiting on an MRI, we're waiting on insurance approval. But also like when you reach that point in your journey where like, I am not the size that I want to be, I want to lose some weight, I want to be around for my daughter, I want to be healthy, going to the doctor. And like, I remember them telling you finding out about the sleep apnea and them telling you that actually can stop you from losing weight. Like it affects your metabolism and it causes you to gain weight because your diet wasn't reflecting the size that you were. Like you're not this person who's super irresponsible with your diet or eats things or like a late night snacker, or your caloric intake wasn't reflecting the weight that you were. And so there's always going to be things outside of your control, but doing what you can in spite of those things.
Yeah. And I think some of that is just going back to eating clean and not eating processed food. And I've been trying to do that. It's a challenge sometimes. We got an issue with our refrigerator, our freezer right now. So that's been kind of frustrating. But yeah, man, I've always been somebody who's kind of bucked the system, and that's got me in trouble in the past. It's a good thing when it's surrendered to God. And like I look around and, you and I talk about this. We go to these games, whether it's watching my nephew play football or when my son was wrestling, I go to these games or these wrestling matches and see, hundreds of parents. And like, it's a normal thing in American society that once you're like, you reach a certain age, you just stop caring about your physical appearance. And like, I don't go to these places. I am not a judgmental person at all. I probably take it too far in the other direction. I probably should judge a little bit more than I do judge myself and other circumstances, but I don't go in these environments to judge people. But I've always been somebody who's bucked the system, and like the American system and the way of life that we have, that, well, you're not in college anymore, so you can just allow yourself to, to be disgusting and get unhealthy and gain all this weight. And if you're a guy, you can become this enormous beer-bellied dude, but God forbid your wife gains a little weight, you know what I mean? And like, and when I would go to these events, like I see people my age, and almost all of them, and I'm sure if you live in Fort Collins, Colorado, you guys aren't doing that, or you're in Australia, but homie, for the rest of most of America, like we are obese, man, and like that's always bothered me. And like, I don't want, just because I'm not this age, like I don't want to be sick and unhealthy and I'm grunting to walk upstairs and like, you know what I'm saying, I have no mobility. Like that's wild to me, and it's sinful and it's rebellion. And so I've had to repent, for my decisions, for how I've handled food, for being lazy and slothful and not exercising. Like I don't want to just be here. I don't want to just be alive. I want to be able to live too, right? Yeah,
well, if you like visit like more progressive cities in the US, like LA or New York, or you see less of that. Why? Because they move their bodies. Like if you live in New York, you aren't, some of them don't even own a car.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not driving everywhere. Like you're walking literally everywhere that you go. And we become so sedentary here in the Midwest, and just so gross with our diet and fast food and all of that. So as we head into 2025, is, how people do the word of the year. Is there any particular word that you feel like would be like an anthem for your life or your goals or your dreams for this year?
A word?
Just like a single one word.
I'd have to think about that. I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, I'll go first.
This train is throwing me off.
This isn't something I've put a lot of thought into, but it's just something I've been thinking about as we're sitting here talking about all of this. I think for me, consistent would be the word, because consistency, showing up when you don't feel like it, like today, showing up to record the podcast when I would have rather stayed home in PJs and watched a movie. Yeah, just showing up in your life, even when you don't feel like it, in spite of the myriad of excuses you could make. Like consistency is what produces the results that you want to see.
That's good. It's powerful. I'm not taking the easy way out. I would agree with that because I think that's what we need in our personal lives, in our marriage, all of that. Everybody needs it. But yeah, I would echo that. And I would say, I read this quote a while back that really spoke to me. I never forgot it. And it talked about how we are loyal to everyone else except ourselves. Mm. We show up for everyone else except ourselves, right? And so that's where I'm at for my 2025 grind. Is I'm showing up for me, you know what I'm saying? And not in just some ego, selfish way, but like, you know, there's some creative things I want to do. You know, I want to start getting my pen back out, dabbling in some music and some creativity. What are some things that bring me joy and bring me life? And yes, my life is still going to be devoted to serving other people, to the kingdom, to Jesus. That's always first. He always has the throne. But yeah, man, showing up for myself. And I think part of the reason why I haven't shown up for myself is that's just all that unresolved childhood stuff, you know. And yeah, show up for yourself, man. So that's the word of the Lord for you homies as we wrap up this podcast 2025 first episode. And we will be doing this weekly, coming hell or high water. I don't care if we got to interview a squirrel outside, homie. This thing is going to pop off. That's the word for you, man. Show up for yourself. Show up for yourself, man. Be present for yourself. And in doing that, when you're in a good space, you're able to pour out to other people, man. And consistency. I love that.
It's not selfish because everyone else is going to reap the benefit when you're taking care of you and you are living the best version of you. So we hope there was something in there that was a nugget for you or a word for your life as you enter this new year, 2025. And we look forward to chatting with you next time on the podcast.
Grace and peace, homies. Peace out. We'll see you soon.
See ya.